But also, what I'd like to highlight the jaunty little ditty that Harry Dalton starts singing on this boat.
The row your boat.
Row, row, row your boat. And then
Well-
everybody joins in. And I was like, guys,
Except for the little girl.
except for because she's like, why are you fucking singing this song?
Lights, camera, and action. Welcome to the I Remember Liking That Movie podcast. Remember those childhood movies you loved? We're going to watch them again and find out if they're still as amazing as you remember. Let's get ready to join Anna and Jimmy as they go back and watch those movies you remember being oh so awesomely good. Horror movies that scared. Comedy movies that dared. And action movies so preposterously ludicrous that they defied the laws of common sense. Now, here's your hosts, Anna Santos and Jimmy Coates.
Yeah, I was wondering why we're doing Dante's Peak before Twister, because Dante's Peak came out a year after. Then I remember it doesn't matter. And Twister, the new Twister comes out. Ours will be released a couple days before the new Twister movie.
Mm-hmm.
I finally saw a preview for it. Doesn't look bad.
No, it doesn't look bad.
No. All right, Dante's Peak. Welcome to the I Remember Liking That Movie podcast. We are going back to the 90s, not 95. 97.
Yes.
And we are going to watch Dante's Peak. Before we start, just so people listening, in the 70s, disaster movies were gigantic. From Poseidon Adventure, Towering Inferno, Avalanche, Airport.
Mm-hmm.
There were tons of, everyone loved them. And then they died down.
Yes.
And then Twister, which we are going to review, or we're going to look at next week in our next episode, started up again. And then Dante's Peak, and then Volcano, and then it just disaster movies came back in a big way.
And I'm thankful for it every day.
I love disaster movies.
Me
even
too.
The shitty ones.
Oh, the shitty ones are even better.
Geostorm? What the fuck is that? I liked it.
It's
not because it was a good movie.
It is a masterpiece of shitty movie making. But I was like,
one with
yes.
Halle Berry, Moonfall.
Oh, I haven't seen Moonfall yet.
Oh, another great one.
Yeah.
The moon, and it fucks with the gravity, and they're able to drive cars through the air. Oh,
I haven't seen that
awesome.
one yet. Yeah.
But the more realistic ones are cool, but even the bad ones are fun to watch.
Well, I was mentioning to my niece that we were going to be watching Dante's Peak, and she was like, "What's that about?" So I explained it to her, and she's like, "Oh, okay." And then she's like, the other day in class, I was talking to one of my friends, and I was talking to one of my friends who's an earth science major. And then she said, "Have you ever watched The Core?"
Oh, Jesus.
And then he was like, "What?" So she explained what The Core was about, and the guy's like, "That doesn't even make sense." She's like, "I know. I know."
Again, another great movie. Little out there, but
so I was like, none of that makes sense. None of it. But okay,
No.
sure.
Oh, there's so many. 2012. What's the one where Dennis Quaid and he has to go to New
The Day
York?
After Tomorrow.
The Day After Tomorrow.
That's one of my comfort movies.
Yeah, I watch that one quite
a
bit.
Yeah, I watch it a few times a year.
There's so many, and yeah, they're great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't care about the story in these movies.
Oh, I suspend my
Yeah.
disbelief
Oh.
at the beginning. I'm like, whatever. San Andreas.
Oh, like San Andreas too.
So
Horrible.
good.
It's so good.
Terrible, but so good.
Yeah, I understand the science doesn't back most of these movies up, but I don't care. Who cares?
If I wanted science, I'd go to school. I'm watching a movie.
Now, what do you remember about James Bond versus the volcano?
I remember actually quite a bit of this movie, weirdly. I remember that Linda Hamilton plays the mayor, who also owns a coffee shop. I
Oh, yeah.
remember them staying in a really crappy motel. I remember I remember a lot. I remember the cows. I remember Betty White's in this too, right?
I remember the grandma. I don't think it's Betty White though.
Is
I
it
remember the helicopter and the ashes. When they
yes.
kept telling them, "Don't go, the ashes are too thick." Blah blah blah.
Yeah, I
Yeah, I
don't
remember
remember
a lot of destruction, and that's what I want.
yeah.
I don't want realistic.
No.
I can go watch National Geographic for realistic.
But these are always my favorite kind of disaster movies where it starts where, the scientist finds out something,
Yeah,
tries to warn everybody discredits him, and he's still running around being like, "No, guys, for realsies." And then it actually starts, and then everybody turns to the scientist guy and says, "Hey, what do we do?" And instead of saying, "I told you so," he just starts, like, solving the problem and saving everybody. I want a movie where he says, "I told you so. I'm gone. I don't know what you want from me." That's what I want.
yeah. No, I remember quite a bit from this movie too. I do remember liking it.
Mhm.
Let's take a look at the box office. With a budget of 116 million, it only had a domestic of 67 and an international of 111. So it had a worldwide of 178. Something tells me that it did okay, especially with movie rentals and DVD sales.
100%.
Now, because now they say like today you have to do like the 3 times marker because of all the marketing. I don't think the marketing and all that was quite as aggressive back then.
No.
Like last episode we did Beverly Hills Cop, where it was made for 13 million, made 300 and some odd million. I'm pretty sure their marketing was in the millions, but in the very low, like single
You also
digits, maybe.
yeah, but also marketing in 1997 was very different than it is today.
Exactly. Yeah. So
You
that's what I mean. It
yeah.
probably made more money um, back then. Like
Mhm.
not the blockbuster I'm sure they were hoping for, but I'm sure they did okay.
Yeah, but this was also at the point where making any kind of profit
Yeah.
was amazing.
It opened at number 2 behind Star Wars, number 4, A New Hope, which was in its second week at number 1 of its re-release. It did, however, open ahead of another former Bond new film, Timothy Dalton, The Beautician and the Beast, with the nanny. What's her name?
Fran
Fran
Drescher.
Drescher. Yeah. I don't know if I've seen that movie.
I have not.
Yeah.
I had
No.
no desire because
Yeah.
God bless Fran Drescher, but she plays the exact same character in everything she does. I
Yeah.
don't have time for that.
All right. Let's go to the tail of the tape. Released on February 7th, 1997. Sorry. This is an action, adventure, mystery, and thriller.
Oh, wow, that's a lot of words.
I double checked that that's what they have. It's PG-13 and
Mhm.
it comes in an hour and 48 minutes, which is fine as long as there's explosions and death and
I had no idea it
calamity.
was that long.
Yeah,
For some reason, I thought it was so much shorter.
I think the science stuff, because I kind of remember them going to the volcano bit and them trying to figure
Yeah,
some stuff out. Yeah.
there probably was a lot of, like, lead up.
Dante's Peak's taglines.
Alright, let's go.
Exploding soon.
Actually, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
The pressure is building.
Ooh, nice.
Whatever you do, don't look back.
Good one.
Yeah, those are good taglines.
Yeah. Also,
All right.
before we get to the synopsis, I'm just gonna jump in. I confused Dante's Peak with Lake Placid. Betty White is in Lake Placid, and she still
Oh,
plays a grandma.
yes. Lake
So,
Placid is so awesome.
I love Lake Placid.
And a part of that is because of Betty White.
Oh, 100%.
And that has a
One
great cast across the
so
board. Everyone in that movie is good. That's definitely one we should look at.
yes.
Yeah.
It's been a
Okay.
few years.
Has been quite a few years, yeah. Dante's Peak synopsis. Volcanologist
Mhm.
Harry Dalton, Pierce Brosnan, and Mayor Rachel Wando, Linda Hamilton, finally convinced the unbelieving populace that the big one is about to hit and that they need to evacuate immediately. Only to discover her 2 children have gone up the mountain to get their grandma. Should have left Grandma. With Earth's clock racing against them, they must rescue the kids and Grandma before the volcano explodes in a fury of flame and ash 1,000,000 times more powerful than the atomic bomb. Don't know if that's accurate, but
I mean, for the movie, it is.
sure.
Science may disagree.
FYI, I wouldn't be going to get Grandma. I wouldn't be going to get no one.
I would go get Grandma as an adult. As a child, I'm not running up the mountain to get my grandmother.
No, we'd be go getting the kids. And the poster reveal: Pierce Brosnan, Linda Hamilton, and a picture of those two. Dante's Peak across the middle. The explosion. Actually, I like the poster. It's okay.
I like the poster too.
Yeah,
but it makes it feel like the movie is more dramatic.
Which I don't remember it being.
I don't remember it being that dramatic.
This was the second poster of the exploding soon.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay.
It's solid.
Yeah. All right. Rotten Tomatoes. This is shocking. 32 critic reviews comes in at 28%.
There's only 32 critic reviews?
That was shocking too. 100,000 audience reviews comes in at 38%.
I mean, if they're looking for a quality movie that follows the rules of physics, then of course they're not going to like this movie.
Yeah, this movie wasn't realistic. Well, duh. It'd be really boring. You know how slow magma fucking goes down the mountain?
Yep.
Critic consensus: the movie works when things are on fire. But everything else from dialogue to character is scathingly bad.
Yes.
Yeah. But that's the only thing I care about in these movies. I don't care about plot and characters. As long as they're dying and running and screaming. All right. Let's start with the fresh. You may start.
Dante's Peak might take some liberties with the science, but the film remains an edge-of-your-seat thriller 25 years after its release. Danielle Solzman, Solzy at the Movies, original score not available.
Okay, so this is a bit newer, 25 years after, so that's good. A perfectly serviceable disaster flick. David Nusser, Real Film Reviews, original score 2.54. That's fine. That's if it's a serviceable disaster flick, I'm fine with that.
I'm fine with that too. Another mindless adventure flick you can add to my guilty pleasures pile. Scott Weinberg, efilmcritic.com, original score 3 out of 5.
Rotten. I will start. There's a lot more of these. Volcano erupts violently and destroys town. Intense peril. Barbara Schuglasser, Common Sense Media, original score 2 out of 5.
I mean, that sounds accurate. The new movie Dante's Peak displays all the elements of the classic Hollywood disaster flick. Circa 1975 Irwin Allen, with stomach-turning dialogue to match. Matt Crenson, Associated Press, original score not available.
Can I recommend half of a movie? Gene Siskel, Chicago Tribune, original score 2.5 out of 4. I'm guessing that he kind of liked the effects.
Yeah.
And that was about it.
Leslie Bowen's script is almost self-parody, but director Roger Donaldson keeps a straight face throughout. David Anson, Newsweek, original score not available.
Rotten disaster movie from the rotten time when disaster movies had a comeback. Alex Sandell, Juicy Cerebellum, original score 0 out of 5.
Damn, Alex, who hurt you? I can't recommend it, but it has my undying affection. Rob Gonzalez, Rob's Movie Faults, original score D. Thanks, Rob.
Why are disaster movies so frequently disasters? Probably because they are disasters first and movies second. Steve Rhodes, Internet Reviews, original score 1.5 out of 4.
Ooh, Steve.
Meow.
Dante's Peak is constructed about as skillfully as a disaster movie can be, and there were times when I found it working for me, sort of. But hasn't this genre pretty much been played out to the point of exhaustion? Roger Ebert, Chicago Sun-Times, original score 2.5 out of 4. And no, Roger, no, it has not been played out to the point of exhaustion. Give me all the disaster movies.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, the more the merrier.
Yeah, hallelujah.
IMDb, the voice of movie reason. 99,000 user ratings, comes at 6 out of 10. That's a little better. Actually, that's a lot better than Ronnie.
That's a lot better.
All right, you may start.
What a thrilling movie. 10 out of 10. Ross Robinson.
Cheesy and sentimental, but still an excellent disaster movie. 9 out of 10. Lee of Wine, Drake. Drake?
Draka.
Honorable mention. There's more to Bronson than Bond. Rhino 1.
The volcano plays its part very well. 8 out of 10. Miguel M.
I love 90s disaster movies, and this is a classic. 7 out of 10. Lucum 52760.
Yeah, Lucum. A+ for escapism. C- for writing. 6 out of 10. Mike 369.
It's okay as disaster movies go. No more than that. 5 out of 10. SD Davis 63.
Was the script written in a weekend? 4 out of 10. Weak Hard 1129.
I'm getting now excited about listening to the dialogue. We can take turns. These are all 3 out of 10s. This makes Twister look believable. Alexander 95350.
Best disaster comedy ever. The Vegas Tourist 1.
Volcanic eruptions aren't the only disaster in this film. DWR 246.
Amazing. You want me to take? Oh, yeah. The most crap film I have ever seen. 2 out of 10. FRW James.
Ooh.
No, it's okay. We got it.
All effects, bad acting, and annoying script makes Dante a dull movie. 1 out of 10. V-Star 614.
V, why are you so mad?
Wow. All right. Well, we looked at everything.
Yeah, we did.
We remember it being really good.
Well, terribly really good.
Terribly really good. Yeah. Now I'm wondering how terribly really good it is.
I know, right?
Let's take a look at the trailer and then make a prediction.
It turns day into night, air into fire. Nothing in the world can compare to its power. The most awesome sight you will ever see may be your last. In the town of Dante's Peak, a volcano is turning nature into a nightmare. Pierce Brosnan, Linda Hamilton.
Oh my God.
Dante's Peak. The pressure is building.
I'm sold.
Yep, I'm ready.
Looks
ready.
fine to me.
Oh God.
No, it looks cool.
Yeah.
If you like disaster movies, it does look good.
I think it'll fit the bill, and I'm
Yeah.
excited. I just hope it's still as entertaining as I remember it to be.
I'm also really curious about how the effects. 1997 is a long time ago. I see how good that because sometimes they surprise you. You're going, that looks really good. I think I'll have a bit of both. Some might not have aged so well, but some the ones that we were just watching, look fine.
No, they looked really good.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, I think you guys did a little bit of digital.
All right. Well, we are going to go watch Dante's Peak, or James Bond versus the volcano. And when we come back, we are going to review it.
You heard them. Movie time. Let's all go to the lobby and get ourselves a treat, and then watch a classic kick-ass movie from whenever the one we're about to watch was made.
Ooh, wasn't that fun, kids? Science and volcanoes, and the reason why most kids abandoning their parents to shady retirement homes. Just saying.
I mean, valid.
Did you watch 1997's Dante's Peak?
That I did.
Your initial thoughts?
My God, the dialogue in this movie. It's like they took a 1930s like action adventure movie and they just made it in 1997. And don't get me wrong, I love them for it. I
Yeah.
love because there was some stuff where I was like, I forgot about this. Oh my, how could I forget? And then I was like, I must have been blocking it. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a good time. It was it was a good
Walk
time.
around with my camera.
Of course you
Whatever.
are.
Yeah, no, I did say in the preview that I didn't want realistic, and boy, did I not get realistic.
Correct.
And when they blew up those models, or some guy poured a jug of water on those twigs that were supposed to be logs. No, I had some fun. It isn't the best 90s, early 2000s disaster movie. It kind of leaned, now after all these years, it kind of leaned into camp, or maybe just bad effects and models that really look like models.
Yeah, no, there's some very obvious
Yeah, some of it looked like mountains of trees from a model train set.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I still enjoyed watching the movie.
Oh yeah, me too.
But there were some practical effects that weren't miniatures, and they were good, and there were some really bad effects too.
Mm-hmm.
But I get a lot of the reviews. This is not a great movie. The actors, as we know, a lot of familiar faces, all talented, not given a
Yes.
whole lot here.
Correct.
But that doesn't mean there wasn't some fun to have.
Oh boy, was there fun to have. So much fun. Oh, by the way, you're coming in a little hot on the mic.
Oh, and I got the automatic thing on too. AI my ass. It's supposed to be fixing this. Hold on, it's dry. It's been hot here.
Has it?
Yeah, just but humid hot. Gross. All right, so let's go over the movie.
Yes, let's.
All right. In 1993, USGS volcanologist Harry Dalton and his partner turned fiancee Marianne attempt to escape an ongoing eruption in Colombia. As they venture out, a lava bomb smashes through the roof of the truck, killing Marianne. So tragic. Yeah, so here we get a glimpse of the volcano. People are wandering the street as the ash rains down on them.
Mm-hmm.
Crew
They're
members
trying to escape this town.
Yeah.
Wherever the ash is falling.
As movie crew throws styrofoam
rocks at them. There are horses in the streets.
Yeah.
There are trucks. There's everything.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And then Marianne. Apparently her name is Marianne. But the way Pierce Brosnan says it,
like Miriam or something, isn't it?
It's Marion or Miriam. One
Yeah.
time it was Marianne. I was like, what is her name? Through that entire thing, I was like,
he didn't know.
But
He didn't
what
care.
exactly? But apparently he loved her.
Yeah.
He loved her so much. I was like, look at them. They're getting us started with super trauma from a past volcano. I'm like, they're really setting this up.
Believe me, as a creepy white old dude, you don't have to know a woman's name to love her.
That was one of the creepiest things you've ever said.
That was one of the creepiest? I thought that wasn't that bad.
That's so weird because now I'm picturing you sitting in somebody's closet, like looking through the doors, just peeking at that's creepy, man. Don't be talking like that. Anyways, stop it. Anywho, but she wanted to stay. They were both very enthusiastic to stay to the very end to get as much information as they could. And this time, Pierce Brosnan, Harry Dalton, was the voice of reason, where he was like, just grab what you can and let's go. We about to die. She's like, oh, but the papers.
Yeah, I would have been, all right, I'm out.
Yeah.
But James Bond hangs around, but yeah, she gets the rock from the volcano right through the head, and she bleeds. He hugs her. You think her head would be too hot to hold, but whatever.
I think it just lodged in her brain.
Yeah. Gross.
He cries while driving through heavy ash that's falling from the volcano where people are running in front. But for some reason, he does not crash into anybody.
No.
Yeah,
No.
he can barely see through the windshield.
One
But
hand.
but he's driving one-handed while holding his dead lover to his breast, screaming and wailing.
Like a 13-year-old just got a Taylor Swift tickets for her birthday.
It was a different kind of scream. That's a happy scream. He was not screaming happily. But yeah, no, it was very melodramatic.
Yes.
Like
Yes,
that
it
was I was like, that was a lot.
And then I was kind of like, okay, yeah, I haven't seen this in a while.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. And a lot can change in what, 27 years?
Yeah.
Okay. 4 years later, despite the trauma he suffered in the course of his employment, Harry is indifferently assigned by his superior, Dr. Paul Dreyfus, to investigate seismic activity near the town of Dante's Peak, Washington, a town that borders stratovolcano. Harry arrives and meets Mayor Rachel Wando with her children, Graham and Lauren. Rachel offers to take Harry with them as they see her former mother-in-law, Ruth, an elderly hermit who lives near the lake at the base of the volcano. So we get a look at the small town. I think it has a population of like 7,500 or something like this.
Yeah, it was super small, very adorable. They totally could have filmed a Hallmark movie there. It's like, they have the main drag and then everybody just kind of lives around that.
Yeah. I won't lie. I would live there. I mean, minus the whole volcano erupting.
Yeah, no, that's a bit of a downer, but I'm totally down to live in a town like that. As long as give me like a half an hour, 45 minutes to get, or even an hour to get to like a bigger town.
Yeah.
And I'm cool. Like somewhere where I can have, I don't know, Amazon deliveries then too. Because Amazon delivery is going to take fucking forever to go in that small town. Anyways.
Yeah. No, I grew up in a town like this. Not that nice. Nice adjacent. Instead of a lake, we had a pond, but it was a large pond. Like it had a beach and parking. If you saw it, you'd be like, that's not a pond. And then you'd be like, that's not a lake either. Ours was full of snapping turtles. And at a certain time of the year, everyone got pink eye.
You're really selling this.
I said nice adjacent.
I grew up in Toronto, but I used to spend my summers in Port Elgin.
Oh, yeah.
Which used to be a lot smaller than it is now. Now it's expanding quite a bit. But like back then, Main Street was Main Street. That was the main street. It was actually called Main Street. And yeah, it was, because that was green. Anyways, there wasn't very much at all. There was like a Pizza Delights. Eventually there was a Tim Hortons. Eventually. But it was like some ice cream, and then you rented cottages there, and you went food shopping at Zayre's. I think before it was owned by Loblaws. So people could still afford it. But yeah, it was a very, very small town. Not Dante's Peak small, but small. And that's where I used to spend my summers. It was very pretty, and it was on Lake Huron. So
no, I was in grade 6 when our public school hit 100 students. And it was a big deal, let me tell you.
God, that's fucking tiny.
But no, I'd live in Dante's Peak. As long as I had decent Wi-Fi, like you said, not too far from a Costco or a Amazon delivery. Yeah, that'd be fine.
And they have a coffee shop. I'm good.
Yeah, everyone seems to like it.
Apparently.
While exploring, they find dead trees, dead squirrels, and 2 people boiled to death in a hot spring. That was a nonchalant sentence from Wikipedia.
But okay, we also thank you, Wikipedia. We do see the scene of the couple in the hot springs.
Yes.
And I was like, oh shit, I know what's about to happen. And then they get boiled, which is super gross to think about. Because I'm like, no.
She's like, oh, it's getting hot. And he's like, yeah, you are.
Yeah, he's like, yeah. And then all of a sudden they're screaming. And you're like, oh, buddy, that's not a good time. Harry arrives to town. Is it their Founders Day or something? I don't know. There's a parade. I wasn't paying attention to that. There's a developer in town who wants to invest in that. Because I'll give this movie one thing. It sets up every single thing so that when you get later on in the movie, nothing comes out of nowhere. Like it's already set up.
I've made a couple notes. It did do that very well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you meet the investor who is going to be, or the developer who's going to be investing money into the town and, putting up whatever it is, the hotel or resort community. And everybody's thrilled and they want this. So when Harry is like, this is weird, this is odd. Oh shit, people are boiled.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, he's like, we should prepare to evacuate. And everybody's like, but if we do this, then we're going to lose this developer. And you're like, oh, nicely done. I like this.
Yeah. Okay, let me see. Yeah. Okay. So we're at the springs. So the hot
Mhm.
springs. We saw this before. And then the kid's about to jump into the pond or
Yeah.
the hot spring. Sorry.
Yeah.
Do you think Harry, because he paused for a second and I thought it was him putting the pieces of the puzzle together, like two boiled corpses, hot spring. What's the common? Aha. Or was he like, I kind of want to see what happens to this kid if he jumps?
No, I think he was literally like having thoughts and being like, why does it smell like that?
Yeah.
What's going on? Why were there two dead squirrels? And then I think he finally looked over at the hot springs and the steam moved just enough that he saw bodies in there. And he was like, ah, shit, no, come back. At least I hope that's what happened, instead of him just being like, maybe that kid shouldn't jump into the hot springs. Also, why are you cannonballing into hot springs?
Yeah.
That just don't make no sense.
Okay, so Harry manages to stop Graham from jumping into the springs upon seeing the bodies. Harry instructs Paul to bring a USGS team to monitor the volcano, but their initial survey finds no indications of volcanic activity. Paul advises Harry against putting the town on alert. Still, Harry tries to convince Rachel to prepare for disaster while developing a relationship with her and her children. This is, I think, in every disaster movie. You were actually saying in the preview, always a scientist warning everyone, like a lunatic, and everyone was like, okay, weirdo. Then what happens? Here comes a tornado. There goes the ski slope. The moon is colliding with the earth. In this case, the volcano begins to erupt, and everyone's like, whoa. But I agree with you. It would be awesome if one movie they had everyone be like, where's that scientist? The only one that could save us.
And they call him and he's like 2 states over. And he's
halfway
like,
to Tijuana.
forget this. I knew it was going to explode. I'm not staying.
Yeah, see you in hell, fuckers. No, one day, Harry and his co-worker Terry examine the summit's crater until a rock slide traps Terry, causing him to suffer a broken leg. The robot who is too heavy because it has that pack on it. Later comes in handy. I mean, like, it does do this quite well, and for a bunch of things.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the ending was dumb, but we'll get to that. So
yeah,
they take it off and it starts to work better, and it gets its foot stuck. Terry goes down and starts kicking at it. I could really identify with this guy. That is a large majority of my let's see if this works mentality.
Yeah.
I put that in practice for tons of shit. But yeah, and then unstraps himself. There's a bit of a thing, and he gets trapped under rocks.
Yes.
Both
so
men are
Harry rappels down to go help him and like get him out. They call in a helicopter. It's amazing.
Yeah. Both men are rescued by the helicopter. I like how they set up the pilot as a douche.
Oh God, yeah.
So the upcoming
he's increasing
scene,
his rates. So
yeah. Well, first he's like, if this goes into my lunchtime, that's time and a half.
They're setting him up as purely like a money grabber, which makes so much sense when you get to the final scene that we see him in.
Yeah, because they like, oh, you need a rescue? I think I want to negotiate my rates.
Yeah, but it was so funny because, like, we'll get to it, but like at the end, you don't get surprised by anything.
It was totally. Yeah,
you're just
there
like,
he is.
That douche, that douche. But yeah, so they come down from the mountain, and Harry's like, "It's happening.
Yeah,
this is it." And they're like, "Nah,
settle down there, buddy. Settle down.
This is a classic case of past trauma affecting your decisions. There's nothing happening here, sweetie."
Days go by showing no signs of any threat or activity. Paul decides that no danger is imminent, and the USGS team begins preparing to leave. When Harry goes to say goodbye to Rachel, they discover that the town's water supply has been contaminated with sulfur dioxide. The next morning, seismic readings and sulfur levels rise dramatically. Actually, I think they take it to Paul immediately and they find it.
Yeah, they go because it's not that they were on a date, but they were not on a date.
Yeah, they were just
So
kinda something was gonna happen.
yeah, it's at the bar. She's dressed very nice. She's buying a beverage or two. So is Harry. They start talking at the bar. Somehow he gets invited back to her place,
Well, he said,
and
"I'll walk you."
oh yeah, I'll walk
Yeah.
you. And then his little friends are like, "Hey man, you want to play?" And he's like, "Nah."
He's like,
Because initially he plans on leaving. You see him throwing his stuff angrily into a suitcase. And then in the next scene, Rachel says, "Oh, I heard you were leaving. I changed my mind. I'm gonna stick around." And you're like, "Oh, okay." So that he walks her home. They have a weird, intense embrace
Mhm.
that I think was supposed to be sexual, but it just looked super fucking weird in the
Yeah.
kitchen. I was like, "What the fuck?" This is what, like, early 1930s, late 1920s actors in films, that's how they would have a passionate embrace. That's what this was, but it also looked super weird. I was like, "Are you guys just sniffing each other? Because that's really fucking weird." But anyways, they have a passionate embrace. The daughter calls down, asks for a glass of water. Rachel goes to pour a glass of water, and it's poison.
Yep. All brown and sulfur.
And they immediately run to Paul to tell him, and Harry pours a glass of water from his actually, first they go to the water supply.
Yeah.
They see that it's all fucked up.
Yeah.
And then they go to Paul and pour him a glass of water from the sink.
Finally convinced that the volcano will erupt and with the National Guard unavailable until the next day, Paul gives Harry permission to put the town on alert. As a town meeting takes place at the high school, an earthquake strikes and the eruption begins. I like this part. People are like, do we have to wait or can we leave now?
Yeah.
Just because you're in a school doesn't mean you need permission to leave, you fucking dolt.
Well, when they said it's like, you're not going to have a mass exodus all at the same time. God. You pack up and leave. You don't have to wait for permission. It's okay.
Yeah, you can go anytime you want. Not even if there's not a volcano, you can leave whenever you want. And this is where the destruction begins, and it's great. It was pretty good destruction.
Mhm.
Bridges collapsing, cars and trucks driving off, and this must have been a lot easier to coordinate and do being a small town instead of
Yeah.
like San Andreas or LA in 2012. And this is the unfortunate side effect of disaster movies. As they went on, they thought they had to get, and I appreciate it, had to get bigger and bigger and
Yeah.
bigger. Till now we
Well-
have the moon colliding with the earth and geostorm.
Geostorm is magic. Well, the thing that I appreciate about this movie is even though through camera movement and staging and then just the destruction, because they stay pretty close on people. So you see a person's face and then behind them you see, like half of a building fall down.
Yeah.
Or they're just focused on one building as it, like the church when the steeple kind of fell over. I appreciate that, but I was also like, is this town made of cardboard?
Oh yeah,
That everything's just falling apart?
yeah.
I'm like, this makes no like, don't get me wrong. Exceptionally like large earthquakes can cause a lot of damage.
Yeah, all this whole town was falling apart.
But the
And this-
entire town is falling apart. I'm like,
because they were saying at most a volcano is usually like a 5. That's like
Yeah.
a big volcano seismic shift. And then they were saying most is like a 1, 1.5, 2. So even a 5, like I don't think LA didn't fall.
it's not tearing down this entire town, which is apparently like 100 years old. Like buildings are made of bricks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like your entire house or the half of the hotel is not falling off. Like I was like, guys, come on. I know you're trying to be dramatic, but come on. Leave
Yeah.
something standing. Just
Oh
something.
yeah. The bridges and the roads just
Everything just wiped out.
jolting up and splitting. Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. It looked good.
Oh
It
yeah,
looked really good.
but it was silly. It was silly.
It was silly.
And I was just thinking, like, it would be neat for them to do a small town like or a Dante's Peak type movie today. What they can do
Mhm.
today to a small town, like they
Yes.
could really get intimate with it. It would be cool. Harry and Rachel go to retrieve the children, only to discover that they have gone to get Ruth, who refused to leave her home. This bitch.
Yeah. They called Ruth, and then she's just like, "No, I'm gonna stay here," and hung up on them.
I'm like, well,
And they
grandma's
refused
not
to
coming.
Yeah, and then they're like, "We can't just leave grandma on the mountain." I'm like, "Yes, you fucking can."
Yeah, you really can. Yeah.
She is old enough to know that if someone is saying the volcano is erupting, get off the goddamn mountain.
Yeah.
She doesn't care.
Yeah, they wouldn't want to be my kids. Oh, we went off to get grandma. Well, guess
You
you're
have
not
fun with
coming
her
either.
You stay with her.
Hold on to grandma and kiss your ass goodbye. Just as they reach Ruth and the children. Okay, so before they get to Ruth and the children, some more destruction, explosions. I did like the river crossing, and she's like, the
Yeah.
water's coming in, and he's like, snorkel on the truck. And she's like, what kind of fucking James Bond shit is that? And he's like, exactly. But I did like the other people driving and being like, he must know something I don't. All these cars and trucks are going in the river and just start floating down the river.
Well, and at one part, you're watching him try to drive, and behind him, there's two people standing on the top of a truck.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, your truck didn't make it, buddy.
No, you
Now
didn't
you're
have
stuck
a
in the middle of the
snorkel.
river, and you don't know what to do.
Just as they reach Ruth and the children, a lava flow engulfs Ruth's cabin and destroys the vehicles both parties used to get there. This was surprisingly well done too. I thought the lava coming through the cabin and melting the wall away.
Okay, it didn't look that good. It was cool.
It was very cool.
But I was like,
yeah, I mean,
you could tell
realistic. No,
not realistic.
And
but all of a sudden it was there, and I was like, oh, lava.
Yeah. The five flee across the lake in a motorboat. The boat stops just meters from the shore due to sulfur-containing volcanic gases reacting with the lake water to make sulfuric acid. Oh, it's a science class and a movie review, which destroys the motor and rapidly corrodes the boat's steel hull, sinking it. Everyone is freaking out. No one is tossing Ruth out of the boat for being the cause of all this, which totally baffles me. I would have, like I said, I would have used her as a fucking paddle.
You can't toss her out just yet. But also, what I'd like to highlight the jaunty little ditty that Harry Dalton starts singing on this boat.
The row your boat.
Row your boat. And then everybody joins in. And I was like, guys.
Except for the little girl.
Except for because she's like, why are you fucking singing this song?
Yeah, because the Graham is like, here, take my magic crystal. And she's like, fuck your magic crystal, you Joseph Gordon-Levitt looking motherfucker. Fuck James Bond. Not bringing a paddle and singing row your boat. And fuck my mom.
That's another thing. There were supposed to be paddles in that goddamn boat. There are always supposed to be paddles.
Yeah.
And Mr. Harry, like when it finally, first of all, it starts burning and eating away at the bottom of the boat. So they managed to make it across most of the lake, right? And then all of a sudden, it's towards the end, which this is the part that does not make sense. The motor stops. The gas tank is not in the water.
No. It would still spin. You just wouldn't be going anywhere.
It would still spin. You just wouldn't be going anywhere.
Again, this was for dramatic effect.
But it's fine. Whatever.
It is stupid. If you think too hard, this movie's dumb.
Why are you still trying to work the motor? Like, if you ran out of gas, this doesn't make any sense. Anyways.
Yeah, because he's still pulling on it.
Yeah, he's still...
Dude, the thing's gone. You're not going to go anywhere.
You're done.
Yeah.
And then he wraps his arm in his coat and starts like that. And then that's when Ruth is like, I'm just going to get out and pull it.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And she pulls that thing to shore.
And she does. Yeah. Ruth jumps out and out of the boat and helps it to shore. Better man than me.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, even if it was my fault.
Never.
I'd be yelling at my kids to do it. Suffering severe chemical burns that eventually prove fatal, Harry and the Wandos take a Forest Service Rangers truck to continue down the mountain and save Ruth's dog, Ruffy. Is it Ruffy?
Yeah, I think it's Ruffy.
As they cross a lava flow. Yeah, so she dies and she says she loves her grandchildren.
Yeah, she gets carried down the mountain for quite a bit. And then I think when they're like 2 miles away from town.
Yeah,
They
and
put her
then
down for a bit.
and she tells the mom that she wished the T-800 would come back to this time period and finish her off.
No, she lamented about what a bitch she had been
Yeah,
and her like waste of space son who ditched them apparently 6 years ago. And I was like, why are you being mean to the daughter-in-law who stayed to take care of your grandkids?
yeah.
Why?
And you haven't even heard from your fucking son.
Yeah, 6 years you haven't heard from your son and you're cool with that, but you're pissed that your daughter-in-law what? Has a job? Takes care of your oh no.
And became the mayor.
Yeah, right? Like she doesn't have enough to do. You're going to give her like you're going to like try and undermine her with her kids. But anyway.
Now, did they leave her or did she pass away?
She passed away.
Okay, she did pass away. Okay.
Yeah, she passed away. Cuz like and it's so funny because at the lake, I think it's Harry says like look at her legs. And so they kind of you see Linda Hamilton look down, but you don't see her legs.
No.
Then when they finally make it to like the stopping spot where she finally dies, they show her legs and I was like that's not correct. She was in acid.
Yeah.
Up to her like hips for a while.
Yeah, there should have been no pants there.
There should have been
I
no
appreciate that
pants.
they kept pants on grandma.
I appreciate grandma pants. But I was like, her wound should be gnarlier.
Oh yeah.
Her wound should be a million times that was my but I was like, also this is not real. Like this is not real.
James Bond threw her over his shoulders and ran down the hill with her. My wife told me to do that to her mom. I'd be, what the fuck I will. You fucking do it.
You know, sometimes it surprises me you're still married. Your wife is a saint, FYI.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's not the point. The point she laments about all of her bad choices in life.
Yes.
And then she croaks. And then they find this truck and they're like, we're going to drive. And then they go drive. And then out of the lava and the smoke comes the dog.
The dog. Yeah. Yeah. That's.
God bless.
And then they drive over the lava. Yeah. Meanwhile, the National Guard shows up, helps remaining townspeople and the USGS team evacuate. As they leave, a lahar created by melting ice breaks up the upstream dam. This is where the whole dam. In 97, I'm sure this looked a lot better.
Yeah.
Today, you could tell it was a model.
Oh, yeah.
And the whole flooding and the trees, like you could tell it was all model. Which
Those
kind of
lovely twigs.
Yeah. I'm like, oh my god, some of those look like twigs.
I was like, why? This is a choice.
The only thing that would have made it better if like a full maple leaf or something came with it, and it looked like a giant maple leaf with all these logs. And I get this would be a really hard practical effect. I mean, it was practical, but like to scale.
Yeah. They can't build their own dam and then blow it up. Like they can't. That's not feasible.
No.
So I get why they did it, but there was some stuff in here. When was the other one? I think it was when they were. Is it on? They were on the lake. There was a green screen.
Oh, that's right. That
on
was
the boat.
Horrible. That
And
looked
it
like
was
blue
so
screen.
Yeah, it was
From the 80s. Yeah, it was really
absolutely
bad.
terrible. But then there's other stuff that they do that's so almost seamless.
Yeah.
That you're like, oh, okay, yeah. No,
Even
that
by
was
today,
real.
it looked really good.
Yeah. But then they have those moments where you're just like, God, why'd you do that?
Yeah, that was a choice.
And the dam was kind of like that because maybe it was just the area, like the direction they were shooting from or the angle they were taking. But you're just sitting there going, I feel like this is supposed to be more dramatic, but it looks like we're playing with toys.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it was wonderful to watch, but it was horrible.
Yeah.
And all this is going to either enhance the viewing experience for you or take you right out of it, depending on your mood and your threshold for bad movies.
So true. So true.
While the rest of the team gets across, Paul and his van fail to clear the bridge before it is washed away by the flood, throwing Paul overboard to his death. great death scene for Paul.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
It is
And he
perfect.
saves his friends unintentionally as he's
Yeah.
trying to cross. He bumps the Humvee that was stuck and then causing his own thing to get stuck.
He
I'd
gets
have been
stuck,
like,
and then he
"Ah."
spends a disturbing amount of time trying to get the van going.
Yeah, he should have
And
just
I'm like,
got out
"Sir,
and
just get
jumped.
out
Yeah.
and run.
But that
You
whole
know
thing
you
where he
can't go." But yeah.
just gets shot up in the air holding on to that pole.
Yeah, and then he gets tossed off the bridge. It was perfect.
And for those, what is that scream? Star Wars movies use it, that Willem scream, that hello.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
that
yeah,
one scream that's used in it, that actually
everything.
him falling into the water, you hear that scream.
Yeah.
Just for people that be on the lookout for it. Moments later, oh no, Harry and the Wandos arrive at the remains of the town. Harry retrieves the distress radio beacon from the USGS workshop and learns that the volcano is due for one last eruption. Remember when they had to take it off the robot?
Yes.
Moments later, the volcano undergoes a cataclysmic lateral blast, triggering a pyroclastic flow which obliterates everything in its path within seconds. This looked good. This was your big explosion. Yeah.
And
This
I
was pretty good.
appreciated it. And I think at this point they cut to Harry's coworkers, I think it was. And the guy who broke his leg, was he Terry?
Terry.
There are too many like Harrys and Terrys. And anyways, someone says, "So long, Harry."
Yeah.
So long.
Yeah.
This is before they fully cleared the area. And I was like, who the fuck? What? I appreciate it. And I laughed.
Yeah.
But it was so wistful and so but after that last big explosion, you're so long, Harry. So long.
And Rotten Tomatoes, IMDb, a lot of people were like, who the fuck wrote this?
Right. There were quite a few moments where you're sitting there going, who decided this was the dialogue that should happen?
Yeah. Well, one of the ones I agreed with, like A+ for effects and fun or whatever, and then C- for script.
Yeah.
Yeah. With no way out of town, Harry and the Wandos reach an abandoned mine where Graham likes to hang out, and they showed this at the beginning of the movie. So they did. I'll give this to the script writer. They did take time to make everything.
The screenwriter is an incredible technical screenwriter.
Yeah.
They know how to set up a story. They know how to make sure the information is there for the viewer so that they're never surprised or they're never confused. They just suck at dialogue.
Yeah.
Hardcore. But everything that happens in this movie is always set up. So nothing comes out of nowhere and everything seems to make sense. Like not logical real world sense, because that's very different. But in the movie, everything makes sense and nothing is a surprise or shock. And I appreciate a writer who does that.
Yep. Inside the mine, Harry realizes that he left the beacon in the truck. When he goes back for it, aftershocks cause rocks to fall. Harry suffers a broken arm and is trapped in the truck, but is able to activate the beacon. I'm not claustrophobic, but I felt his fear in this scene.
I was so nauseous and so anxious watching that scene. First of all, my nausea started when he shows us his broken arm.
Oh, with the bones stick out? Yeah. Well done. And it was like, oh, that looked like it hurt.
I was like, oh, God, because that's one of my biggest fears. One of my biggest fears is falling down and knocking out my teeth. My other one is breaking a bone and having the bone like pop out of me and just be out in the air. I hate both of those scenarios. Anyways, so you see that, and I'm already feeling a little nauseous from that because I'm like, oh God, bones on the outside. And then in the truck, as it keeps crashing, I was like, oh my God, I was so anxious. I was like, I'm feeling this. I am feeling this right now. And I don't know if that was Pierce Brosnan or if it was just the truck.
They wouldn't need the radio beacon because they would be able to hear and follow my high-pitched scream. The National Guard would be like, let's go, man. There's a damsel in distress.
But that's just it. Without that, nobody would be there to hear your screams.
Yeah.
The only reason they go back into town is because of that thing. Otherwise, they were like, nah, man, everybody's dead.
Well,
nobody survived that.
And that's the other. Hold on, let me see. Okay, yeah. Days later, Terry notices that the beacon has been activated and the USGS dispatches search and rescue teams. Days later.
Yeah, he says,
Like
"How long has that light been flashing?"
Yeah.
And then one of the guys goes, "I don't know, a
Oh,
day or 2?"
a day or
And
two.
he says something like, "Oh, thank you, NASA. Thank you, NASA." And then they go and they find Harry and they pull him out and it's all very emotional. And then,
But who had his
but,
bone protruding out of his arm, crushed like a sardine in the cabin of the truck for 2 days.
and the best part was when they were removing him, they didn't take all of the rocks and the stones off of the truck.
No.
They're still there. And some fool firefighter or rescue person is leaning on the truck. I was like, I don't think that's helping, sir. But yeah, no, a day or 2. I was like, that's nice. They just went back to work. Somebody noticed the flashing light on the
Yeah.
equipment and was like, I'm just going to ignore that.
Just to be like that for 2 days. Oh my God. And so for any scientists or future explorers or just in general, you see a flashing light, red
Investigate.
light. Yeah. Make a fucking inquiry.
Ask a question. Ask, hey guys, do we know what this is?
Yeah.
Do we know why this is flashing? That's all you got to do.
Harry and the Wandos are freed from the mine. Oh, we didn't cover.
What do we
Douchebag
know?
helicopter didn't cover in the Wikipedia.
That's right.
He showed up, and what was it? 15,000. He was taking 15,000
Yeah.
cash,
Yes.
and then of course the ashes got into the helicopter
Well,
blades
'cause
and they crashed.
Paul sees it and someone says, oh, the helicopter driver, rider,
Is
pilot
flying people out.
is flying people out. And Paul is like, his engines are going to get clogged up with ash. He's going to crash. Like, this is not smart. So he's trying to like stop him. And people are getting literally kicked out or kicked away from the helicopter.
Yeah.
And then one of the guys who, like, I guess was running away from the helicopter says to Paul, like, oh, it's $15,000 cash for a ride.
Right.
And he was like, what the? So when you hear that, you're like, still
Yeah.
a fucking douchebag.
Yeah.
Then you're like, I kind of feel okay because the developer was in the plane, in the helicopter.
And the one counselor who didn't want to tell
And the one
anybody about this.
counselor who, didn't want to evacuate. So I was like,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not that mad about who's going to die. And I think you guys planned that. Thank you, writers. Because now you're like, oh no. But at least it's not someone you actually really cared about. You're like, oh, it's the douchebags. It's literally the helicopter of douchebags. Go ahead.
Yeah, the whole douchebags.
Crash.
Harry and the Wandos are freed from the mine, reunited with Harry's team, and airlifted out by helicopter. That's what kind of reminded me about the helicopter. As the credits roll, the camera pans over to the obliterated town and turns to the volcano with its upper half now reduced to a Mount St. Helens like volcanic crater. And that was our movie.
Amazing.
What is your score?
Buy it. Buy it. 100% buy it. Because look, there are problems with this movie. 100%.
Yeah, a lot of problems with this movie.
There's a lot of problems with this movie. But this movie has one objective. And that's to blow shit up. And my God, do they ever. Okay, you've got a little bit of a slow uptake, but this is where Harry is learning, you know, about the town, about the people of the town. He integrates himself within 24 hours, which God bless. But it builds until everything is on fire. And you're just like, yes, things are blowing up. People are getting boiled. Lava's pouring through houses. Lakes are becoming acid. It just keeps happening. And you're like, more, give me more.
Boy,
And it's a
miniatures
lot
are
of
being
fun.
destroyed.
Yeah, miniatures are being destroyed. Shitty green screen shit's happening. Like, it's amazing. Okay, shittiest dialogue ever. And weirdly, no sexual tension between Pierce Brosnan and Linda Hamilton. Not even a little bit. I couldn't even tell. Like, they look like they're just standing next to each other on a public bus.
And they
that's
tried
fine.
to romantically do this in this and it
Dude,
was like
they
no one
kiss
bought
at the
it.
end, and I was
Yeah.
like, you literally just look like you're smashing your faces up against each other.
Yeah.
Weird. Okay, but fine. Like, they have no sexual chemistry, but you still want them to get married and live on the side of the shitty mountain that's all on fire. Like, you're just like, yes. So it's a lot of fun. There's enough to pick at and enough to kind of make fun of. And there's enough action and enough death and enough weirdness that you're going to be entertained by it. So I say buy it.
Right, buy it.
Tell me what yours is.
My score. I won't lie. I get a lot of the reviews, both good and bad. But here, as a fan of movies and a man who tends to lean more towards it blowed up real good, I enjoyed this movie. It is not my favorite disaster movie, but as one review, actually more than one review, it's a serviceable disaster movie. I actually did buy this. I forgot to bring it with me here. I got it with The Living Daylights with Sylvester Stallone, where they get trapped under the tunnel.
Yeah.
But I bought it for the Blu-rays. It came with the 2 Blu-rays for $6. So that was a steal. The acting is serviceable. The effects range from bad green screen to like almost maybe blue screen bad. To some guy pouring a water jug over a model train set and recording in slow-mo to actually make the effects that still... And then there are some effects that still look great today. It makes it a bit unbalanced today, but it also makes it a whole lot of fun. I kind of didn't care about the characters. I think I was the most upset when Paul died.
Yes, me too.
Yeah. He saved his friend inadvertently, like I said, but yeah. FYI, I'm glad Grandma died. I would have used her as a paddle. I'm the type of guy who will complain about a movie or series like Leprechaun and then see it on sale and then buy it. I bought this at a huge discount. I bought it cheaper than a rental. I will watch this again. Not anytime soon, but I will. And like you said, I don't know if it's so bad it's good. It's so bad with it's so well done even with the badness of it.
Yes.
So it's not so bad it's good. It's so well done.
Yes.
The badness is now part of it, and I agree. I would say buy it. Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun movie to watch.
It's a very fun movie to watch, and I think that's why I almost think of it as like a 60-40 movie. Like it's 60 good, 40 bad. So it's not so bad that it's good, but there's enough good that you're like, this is a decent movie. But then there's enough bad that you can kind of pick at it and be like, oh God, roll your eyes, or oh, that's gross. But I mean, there's some stuff that was just done so well that you're like, this belongs in an incredible movie. Why are you in Dante's Peak?
Yeah. Yeah. And if you like 70s disaster movies, 90s disaster movies, 2000, this deserves to stand and sit beside the rest of them easily in your collection. Yeah.
It's good fun.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
it's
fun.
fun.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not going to win any awards. That's for sure.
Especially not for writing. God. Well, actually, no, that's the weird thing. The writing is great. The dialogue is shit.
The dialogue is shit. Yeah. The whole story and plot is well done.
Flawless.
Yeah.
If they redid this movie and just redid the dialogue and used better effects, you'd have a blockbuster movie.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Because
100%.
most movies just are like, oh, we forgot to do this and shove it in there and there's no real explanation. This covers all the bases. Every silly thing from the mine to the NASA pack to everything. Everything. It's all covered.
There are no exposition monologues in this movie.
Just real shitty dialogue.
Correct. They laid the groundwork for the story, but they forgot that people have to talk through the story.
Yeah. And no romantic chemistry at all, which is weird because I don't think I put in the trivia. They became really good friends after this movie and still keep in touch.
Dude, I was getting siblings off of them. Like that was my vibe. So I was like, I don't want to see, and I think that's why I wasn't disappointed that you only got that one really shitty kiss at the end.
Yeah.
And that weird like hug. And I was like, I don't want to see you guys getting together because it's weird. You're giving off brother sister vibes, and it's really uncomfortable for me.
Yeah. Hillbillies. All right. Thank you for going back to 1997 to preview and then review Dante's Peak. We both said buy it. It's a silly movie. It's not very realistic, but it is a whole lot of fun.
It's a good time. It's a good time.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add?
No, I'm good.
All right. Like I said, thanks for joining us. And until the next movie we remember liking.
Congratulations. You just had one of your childhood movie memories vindicated. Or they just eviscerated it. I don't know. This is a generic one-size-fits-all type of ending to the podcast. So thank you for listening, and please join Anna and Jimmy next time for another episode of the I Remember Liking That Movie podcast. If you dare to go back and watch that movie you remember liking.